Well, hello everyone. We are going to go ahead and get started. My name is Lindsay Frkovich-Nelson. I am the VP of Sales and Marketing at OneSource, and we'd like to welcome you to the second Speakers Bureau webinar presented by OneSource in conjunction with David Jagrosi. Today we have Harry Mullen presenting for us. I would also like to mention before Harry begins that OneSource is providing a COVID-19 database of essential items along with important news to both subscribers and non-subscribers during this difficult time. It is available at onesourcedocs.com, and please feel free to reach out to OneSource for any assistance with accessing this. And now I would like to turn it over to Harry.
Thank you, Lindsay. I would like to take this opportunity to thank OneSource, for giving me this opportunity to address you all with, sterile processing concerns. OneSource is a leader in providing IFU and preventive maintenance literature, and now this Speakers Bureau. And in addition, as she said before, the OneSource platform for the COVID-19 Resource Center. So you can go to that website at onesourcedocs.com/COVID-19-resources. All right, so my topic for today is on education, specifically CEU training during slow times. Now, the objectives by the conclusion of this webinar is that you should be able to assess departmental educational status, understand the types of opportunities that you have, and know the role of senior leaders, and then to be able to focus on the outcomes for the customers. Now, during slow times in the sterile processing department, oftentimes hospital resorts to cutting back on staff in order to save money. Now, administrative decision makers, they may not be aware of the need to catch up on critical training opportunities. So personally, I don't believe that this is the right approach. As SPD leaders, we need to ask ourselves, is the training in the department up to date? And has the opportunity to take the staff and the department to the next level even been seriously considered? So what are the risks of not having the employees take full advantage of these kinds of occasions in order to better their knowledge and skills? So to me, I think the cost is going to be that we're not going to have everybody on the same page. I go through different departments and I've seen this where you have staff members on different levels of understanding, and that causes problems in the department. Then you also have them not following the standards, and then ultimately what's going to end up happening is you're going to have customer satisfaction levels are going to decrease. Now, I believe that instead of sending staff home in order to save a buck here or there, what we really need to do is utilize this time in order to educate our teams so that we can be ensured that they're properly versed in the knowledge of the fundamental standards that serve as a foundation for our industry. Now, there's many activities at this time we as a group can be doing in order to improve the efficiencies, productivity, and the safety of the department. This investment can have long-term positive effects on the facility as a whole. Now, what is that, you may be asking? Well, let me answer that question with a question. Do you and your team have a full grasp of what it takes to have a department that is the rule and not the exception? Now, what I mean by that is that what we need to do is we need to take what is exceptional and outstanding in our department and make it the rule for all to follow. All right, so do you and your coworkers have what it takes? What does it take to be a shining beacon in an industry that is struggling? Not only during survey times, but every day. Do you have the courage to be outstanding and exceptional? So it's during this downtime that what we need to do is we need to be able to assess departmental educational status. And we need to ask ourselves, is the department training where it should be? Has department education been consistent? Because we find that, again, you have staff members that have different understandings, whether it's, because of the different shifts. So not all the resources are allocated to all the employees to be able to be on the same page. So what is the expectation for the staff when it comes to knowing what the standards are? Okay, hold on, sorry. So do they understand regulatory and compliance issues? Are they following best practices? Medical device reprocessing, when it comes to that, do they know where to find the IFUs? Do they know how to use the IFUs and understand the step-by-step instructions that are needed to process these properly, especially during these times when we have a pandemic going around? Well, let's start off by asking, how well do you and your coworkers understand the AAMI standards? We have many different standards out there. You have, ST 79, 58, ST 91, TIR 34. Those are just scratching the surface of what it is that's out there. It is with these standards that we build the foundation. That's the department's, for the foundation for the excellence that we are building it upon. How many times during a survey does an inspector ask you or the staff why they're doing what they're doing? So the last time the surveyor came in your department, did they ask you to see a copy of ST 79? So when you brought it out, was it marked and tagged, showing that all the times that you and your staff actually viewed it and were actually using it? Or did you in fact have to dust it off because it showed that once you actually put it on the shelf, you never picked it up again? So do senior leaders of the hospital understand your role in fighting infections? Do you remember the last time the CEO, the CFO, or the chief nursing officer came down into your department, if ever? Or have you even invited them into the department to see what it is that you do? If not, why? By not knowing and understanding what our role is, it's a disservice to not only to the staff, but to the department. It is also a disservice to our customers and the community. Now, I don't want to deviate from the main topic. So understand that downtime is a great opportunity for us to take full advantage of catching up all the critical competencies that are in there. Oftentimes the training is put aside, and so this is a perfect time for that. Also, we can invite vendors in, depending on what the restrictions are, to come in and do in-services with the staff. As SPD technicians, we're aware of what it is that we do. But I find that sometimes we feel forced, whether it's pressures from our customer, or perhaps we're willing to take shortcuts because we don't necessarily understand the implications of our actions. In other words, we know what we're doing, we just don't know why we're doing it. So here's some examples that we share with, that I share with my clients, and what they may consider going over or reinforcing with the staff. The ST79, this is the go-to reference for steam sterilization in healthcare facilities. Technicians, we have to be familiar with its content. It's the standards that also utilized by the surveyors while conducting departmental surveys. Then you have TIR 34. It covers water for the processing of medical devices. This technical report covers the selection and maintenance of effective water quality suitable for reprocessing medical devices. It provides guidelines for selecting the water quality necessary for the reprocessing categories of medical devices. As well as it addresses water treatment equipment, water distribution and storage, quality control procedures for monitoring water, strategies for bacterial control, and environmental and personnel considerations. Bottom line is the AAMI standards are a foundation of what it is that we do every day. Now, as the manager of the departments and leaders, this is valuable training time that allows us to focus on critical processes in the department and their regulatory implications. So some of the regulatory issues that we deal with every day, we can go to these standards again, like the ST79, that Comprehensive Guide to Steam Sterilization, TIR 34 that I covered about reprocessing medical devices, the water quality. In addition, we have ST58, chemical sterilization and high-level disinfection. ST91 deals with flexible and semi-rigid endoscope processing. Again, these are all fundamental to what it is that we do. We have to set clear expectations for our staff to understand them. Also, in order to follow best practices, we need to make sure that the staff understand the IFUs of all the different products that we use. Do they know how to access the departmental policies and procedures, or is it locked up in the manager's office? And do they understand the infection prevention guidelines that serve the facility? So at this point, I know that some people are thinking, these are good ideas, but Harry, I can't possibly be doing training the entire time. Upper management, at some point, they're going to want to cut back on staff, in order to save money. And let's face it, there's no possibility of convincing our bosses that this approach is going to bring value to the department. So this leads me to a subject that should get their attention. Something that brings value not only to the department, but to the hospital as well as our customers, and that's process improvement. So as you know, the CPD we've experienced a variety of negative issues that may not necessarily start in the department. We need to also consider training for partner departments. This includes training for CPD customers like the operating room, labor and delivery, as well as the ancillary departments. So are these departments doing their part in the medical device reprocessing, and are they doing it correctly? So how does what they are doing or not doing affect the flow of the CSSD? For example, the OR, they open up multiple trays, not even to use them, they get mixed up. When they, and so when they get sent down to us, we have a hard time. We have to go through and resort them out and get them back in their trays. And then the instruments are not prepped. The point of use processing is not done prior to sending it down to decontamination. So point of use processing. Now this is an area that we can always use reinforcing on. All CS departments experience issues in this area. So the user departments, they need to understand their appropriate role. When it's done properly, we have no problems. Everything's running nice and smooth. When it's not done properly, it slows us down. It delays us, turnaround times. So they need to understand, how it is, how much of an impact that they have on the CSSD operations. This avenue represents a tremendous opportunity for education and collaboration. Now, this training will have a positive impact on SPD and the department that we serve. So why not, during this critical downtime, explore the possibility of training the customers in order to improve the efficiencies of the department, and the facility as a whole. So now, how does process improvement fit in with training? So process improvement is the cornerstone of all of any well-functioning sterile processing department. So you need to introduce your staff to some of the process improvement tools available. This introduction, in fact, is critical training. Lean Six Sigma is one of the many useful process improvement approaches out there. Perhaps take this opportunity to introduce the concepts to your team. Now, I'm sure that perhaps, many of you have gone through this training before. So I asked, how does process improvement fit in? So process improvement helps to give you the opportunity to be able to bring in a group of SPD technicians and managers and the leaders, as well as the user departments, in order to take this time to fix problems that have been the cause of tension between each other. The training comes in when we reach out to HR. We're going to ask for a specialist to come in and lead the team in a project that will help to improve the workflow and build a stronger team. That way everyone has a part to play in, and they get to learn their part. Now, not all participants have gone through this type of training for lean, so that's the learning part. They get to learn the all the different aspects of the lean training. So the value is added when fixing the issues that that'll come up. No one has had the time to get together and fix them. So again, you have this downtime, and we're not thinking of what it is, and how we can improve things. So when getting together, we're able to discuss the different issues and stuff and work them out, work out the workflow, and then be able to come up with a joint fix that's going to help us. So I have a question, so how is it that, this coming together to do these projects, how are we going to be able to build a bridge together? Well, it's going to be through collaboration. So that collaboration comes in with cross-functional teams. So a cross-functional team, this is a multidisciplinary team meeting to discuss joint issues. All right, so during these times, we can explore the impact that we have on each other. For instance, okay, going back to our main customer, the OR, what kind of effect does the OR have on SPD operations? At times they send down, let's say the wrong pick sheet, or they make schedule changes without notifying us in advance, and then all of a sudden they ask, well, where's this case, and we weren't aware of it. Again, they open up multiple trays and send them down without organizing them, or the pre-cleaning, the point of use care, they didn't do it prior to sending it down to decontamination. Or sometimes they'll call down for instruments, or trays, and they use the wrong name. They're using slang. So it takes time for us to decipher what it is that they're actually asking for, especially new people that are coming into the department and hadn't had the opportunity to be able to learn what it is that the OR is talking about. And then, of course, ultimately, another example is unrealistic turnaround times. I don't know how many times I've been in a department where the OR sends down, they need to turn over perhaps a total hip case, and the doctor expects to have the instruments back within an hour, hour and a half, and they don't realize the steps that it takes to properly clean, each and every instrument properly. All right. Then we have to take this opportunity to look at the impact that we have on our customers. Like when we send up, case cards and they're missing instruments, and there's no notation whatsoever as to, where those instruments are, what's the timeline, and them being able to get them. When we do, send those carts up and they do open up the trays, they find missing instrumentation. Sometimes they find, dirty instruments, bioburden on the, on the instruments. Or we're delaying the delivery of the instruments or the equipment because, we're, it's after Super Bowl Sunday. We're talking about what happened in the game, and, by golly, it's, it's really important to be able to talk about that instead of giving our customers 100% of our attention. And then in turn, when the stuff comes down, because of the different levels of training, you don't have everybody trained the same way, let's say in decontamination. So the way the instruments are being cleaned, it's slowing, it takes a long time to get it through. Same with on the prep assembly side, You have staff members that don't know all their instrumentation. Again, this is a perfect time for them to be able to, for you to sit down with your staff and make sure that they are able to recognize the different steps of what it is that they're supposed to do. And then at times they have to make several calls to us. Again, they call us for a trade, they need it stat, but we're in the middle of a conversation or we get distracted. So we have to be careful about that. Or items become, but bottom line is, we have an impact on each other, and oftentimes we only want to point fingers at each other. So it's during this time that we can collaborate and train each other. By coming together, we're able to coach and teach each other to better understand the entire flow. We gain the experience and skills to work together, and in that way, we're able to develop a plan that raises us up to new heights. Now, again, what will we gain through the Lean Six Sigma? So what we're going to do is we're going to be able to learn process improvement tools. We're also going to learn critical thinking. And then ultimately, we're going to end up improving departmental processes overall. And it's also going to improve our customer relations. So after this is done, we have other opportunities that we can take. The continuing education. Now we have staff members, that are certified, and understand that the world of medical device processing, it's constantly changing. I remember back 32 years ago when I got into the field, we had just the open chole or the appendectomies, and then the next level was lo and behold, we had laparoscopic instrumentation. And of course, there was training that had to go along with that. And now, fast forward to nowadays, now we have Da Vinci robotic instrumentation. And just think about all the training that's involved in processing those correctly, because those are very complex devices and are a possibility of affecting the patient's bottom line. So our staff, through continuing education, we're hopefully our staff is certified, so we need to, for those that are certified and for everybody, we need to ensure that we carve out time so that they can get their continuing education. Certification is essential for staff professionalism, to the point, because it's a standard in the AAMI standards that within, I believe it states that within 2 years, that if a staff member is working in sterile processing and they're not certified, they should be certified within 2 years. And because it's in the standards, it's a requirement by CMS and Joint Commission. They want to see a plan of what you're doing in order to get your staff members certified. So understand that continuing education helps maintain that certification. So we need to be advocates for training of the staff. All right, because it brings value to the facility, it brings value to our employees. I look at technicians that are certified versus one that aren't, and it seems to me that they have a lot more confidence when they know that they had the ability to be able to pass that test and get their certification and perhaps advanced certifications as well. I believe that with continued education, it's going to bring more competencies to the competent staff members working for us. And then retention, because we invested in their education. They're more, probably going to end up staying with us because they know that we feel that their education is important. And then bottom line is that it's going to end up promoting loyalty. But it's also important that CS leaders, that we have to log this training and and track the time that it took for the staff to get their CE credits, so that way that they can submit it to the appropriate association that maintains their current certification. This needs to be sent in, usually annually for ISHM and for CBSPD. I believe it's every 5 years. So we need to support our technicians in maintaining their certification. So this is a source of pride and recognition for them. So I can go on with many other suggestions, but in closing, I just want to say that we must be sure that we focus on the patient, and any and all activities must be geared towards improving patient outcome. So we need to respond to any by doing this training, we can respond to the situations at hand. And I want to leave you with one more piece of information. So as we enter into hard times that affect the hospital and our customers, the patient, we need to not waste the opportunity as it's been presented to us. We need to move forward with optimism. So don't let a situation, whether it's a local one or a global one, get away from you. You need to take this moment to be able to improve your department, and bottom line is, make it an example for all to follow.